COVID legislation, which was passed last year, and give the Minister for Health in the state and the Garda Síochána the powers, huge amount of powers, ungodly amount of powers that have never been given in this state since the Second World War, in time of war, but obviously we're in a very different time now. I would nearly say it's a war on freedom, to be honest with what's happening at the moment. Again, and I say this straight, I've said this many, many times, and I've said this last week too, that the plan to keep it in place into November, so they have a vote this week in Dáil and Shannon there, and they will need to vote on it. They can't just introduce it, and I talk about that in a second, because there's a few things I'd mention on that. But again, it is very extreme. The 13th of November, very extreme. So basically, we're going from end of May to November the 13th. And that's very extreme. If you think about that, there's June, July, August, September. You think about that, that's 4 months, nearly 5 months at most. And then they probably will extend it to Christmas, and then probably extend it to March. You see what I mean? Again, I would say, and as I said in my email to TDs too, when I email my TDs, I'll get to that in a second again. But again, suspend it for the next 5 to 6 months and see what happens in November. Wait until we get to November, and then maybe we'll feel, maybe not get rid of it, abolish it at the moment, get rid of them. They're not needed. They're really not needed. Let people decide for themselves what's best for themselves. And that's as simple as that. Let them decide themselves. Again, people are entitled, they know what's best for themselves, I suppose, know what's best for the community. And wait until November. And then maybe look at it and not bring it in or whatever. I'd rather them not bring it in, to be honest. But again, this is the thing, they're going full on, they just don't care about what people think, they're going to bring it in anyway, they just don't care. And again, I come on to my next point, I just talked about this briefly, but OT and the media. The other week I thought that it was the government done it in secret or something, that they voted in the powers in secret, had a secret meeting without anybody there, without the public there, without it being publicly broadcasted, the vote. And I thought, by going by OT, and I thought they were being honest, because again, I wouldn't put it past the government being secret and trying to, because again, this will cause a lot of controversy. And it is causing a lot of controversy, that they would do it in private, but apparently not. OT would just act in the bollocks as they usually do. Just saying to people, there's nothing you can do about it, more or less. What can you do? More or less, that's what OT's trying to push in our faces. What can you do? We're not going to stand up for your freedoms. Who else is going to do it for you? Kind of that kind of way. OT's just being very Satanist, as they usually are. But again, they were totally wrong in what they said, because it hasn't been voted in yet. They need to vote it in the Oireachtas. It can't just be brought in on a whim. Again, legislation needs to be introduced through the Oireachtas, through the powers of the Oireachtas. And then the president has to sign it, as far as I'm aware. It's the president has to sign the legislation into law, yeah. But again, OT ran that narrative that it was already done and nothing can be done about it. And I thought myself, when going by, because I wouldn't put it past them to have secret meetings with the government. But again, the next thing I'm talking about, so Tracy Manley, and I just want to say Tracy's been doing amazing work. So she put up a video, and many people probably have seen it who are watching me now at the moment, but about emailing your TDs, emailing any TD in your area, in your local constituency. Now, I emailed my TDs, and I spoke to two actually, and I talked to them about this, and basically, I do understand where they're coming from, that they have to go with whatever the party says. They can't go off on their own and do whatever they want. It's whatever the whip says, the chief whip or whatever. But I know I can tell, I even got in touch with 2 other TDs outside the county, in Meath and in another area, an area of the Republic. But basically, the other TD I got in touch with was Paddy Tobin, and he said, and who will vote against the extension of powers for the government. And they were actually bringing in more powers, only for Tracy Manley, I wouldn't have knew that. But they're actually thinking about bringing in more powers, more legislation. Which, I have to say straight, again, at this moment in time, during the emergency in Ireland, there was probably less powers, and would you believe we were being bombed, like literally German bombers at a few stages. And there was probably less emergency powers brought in then, when we were under literally threat of being invaded from either the British or the Germans, and we were literally being bombed by bombs in Dublin, in different areas of the country. And I bet you anyone, if you look back in the emergency powers back then, very probably limited compared to what it is now. I say you could travel from Dublin to Cavan without being stopped or anything. Like, again, it's very extensive for the powers they've been given. Like, again, it's far too, and it's gone on far too long. 11 months, 2 months at most, the powers could have been kept into. I remember for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That went very that went very quick, didn't it? But yeah, Tracy Manley basically said to email your TDs. So I would recommend to people. I don't know when it's coming in the letter. I think it's Thursday. She said, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's Thursday. But basically the TDs, and what I'm trying to say, basically the TDs in Cavan and Monaghan. Because I haven't got in touch with Heather Huffies because obviously she's a government minister. She's going to vote with the government no matter what happens. And obviously got in touch with the two Fianna. I sent off the two Sinn Féin TDs, Matt Cowley and Polly Tully, an email. And obviously the Fianna Fáil TDs are going to vote with the party. So it's very limited what I could do. And then the other two TDs, kind of, I have to say, I give them a pat in the back. They've said they'll vote against it, and I take their word, and I give them the benefit of the doubt to see what happens on Thursday, or whenever the vote is. I check and see. But I give them the benefit of the doubt for the moment. But again, as I said in my my email to the TDs and even talking to them, that it's very, like, you're going to put through the country through hell and back again, and again, I don't think they understand, and again, it's really up to people again what they think is safe for them or whatever they want to do, because again, you're entitled to think yourself and whatever you think is dangerous and whatever you think is risky. Again, that's what you have a brain for. You have to think for yourself. You can't have the government babysitting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, saying, you can't go there, you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't go there. It's up to people to make up their own minds what they think is safe and what's not safe. And that's just putting it straight. But it's just, again, it's not needed. It's really, in my opinion, it's not needed. It's not needed any powers at all. There's no need. In other countries, when people are doing their own thing, and it's working out fine. But I really have to say, I'm just, at this moment in time, nearly 11 months on, nearly a year on now. Actually, it is a year, so. The power, it's gone way to their heads. It's gone way to their heads. They think they can extend it. Again, they should go. An OT. Do you know what OT should do? Is do some proper journalism. Do you know what they should do? They should do a poll, or have people call into OT, and say what they think, because I say yes, maybe 80% of the general public in Ireland, they think the power should be extended, and they would say no. They would say no. I'm sure they would say no. Again, the will of the people it's very much gone out the window, because again, it's not needed. It's really, really not needed. It's a year on now. It's not needed, and we don't want to put people through hell and back again. Again, it's just I just can't get over that they actually are. It will. I'm not going to lie to people. It looks very, very likely it will go in, and it will be there to November. I'm not going to lie. I'm really just not going to lie to people. I can't see it. I hope it doesn't go in. I really, really hope it doesn't go in and it doesn't pass. But this country, and I'll be totally honest with you, and all the effort of people, emailing the TDs will go to vain. But at least if we can, I don't know, if we can get a tie, I suppose, even to be better. But again, with these TDs saying they're going to vote with the party, that's difficult. And obviously Sinn Féin, I say the Labour Party, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, are probably going to say they're going to leave it, they're going to vote with the government, with the powers. And I say the independents, like the majority, as far as I know, independence groups will vote, and Newer too. Will probably vote. I don't know about the social. I haven't seen what the Social Democrats are saying. People for profit. I haven't heard what they would say about it. But I'm just assuming they will go with the government too. Which is a shame. But we see what happens. Things can happen. Acts of gods can happen. But hopefully maybe God will show them the way. These TDs, and to take a stand and just say enough is enough, and that's really just putting it straight. Enough is enough. Let people decide what's right for themselves and what they think is risky and what's not risky. I'm gobsmacked. I'm just gobsmacked that they. So I really don't know. But I say to people to email the local TDs, if you have the chance, please do, or even call into them if you see them or even see them on the street or anything. mention it to them or even write to them if you can, whatever way suits you. Just to suppose get your voice and to say to your TD, this is why I elected you, X, Y, and Z, please represent me and tell these people from Dublin that enough is enough. But not likely they're going to listen. But again, it's a free country, you can say what you want. Again, just to say actually, one person actually said they're blocking, one TD's blocking people's requests on this legislation, just to say, in the email. So, if you can, send a letter, if you can. And some TDs are doing that. I'm aware of that. I think I'm aware of one. I think it's People Before Profit TD, I think somebody was saying, which one, it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say.